Today, I would like to wander away from folklore and dilly-dally about in some history. Let me introduce you to a woman who proves that marrying into royalty does not guarantee a fairy tale, unless that fairy tale is written by someone who really hates happy endings. Meet Caroline of Brunswick, Queen of Great Britain in theory, social outcast in practice, and quite possibly the most awkward royal dinner guest in European history. Settle in. Caroline was born in 1768 in Germany, which already set her up for trouble because in the 18th century, Britain treated Germans the way we treat grok, occasionally useful, but deeply suspicious and not to be trusted. Still, she was a royal, she was a Protestant, and most importantly, she was available, which made her perfect for the then Prince of Wales, the would-be George IV. Georgie Porgy was a man who loved parties, mistresses, and crucially, himself. Caroline, on the other hand, loved laughing loudly, ignoring social rules, and if you listened to salacious rumours, did not love taking baths. As such, their first meeting went terribly. George reportedly took one look at Caroline and immediately asked for a drink. Historians say he was visibly disappointed, which is 18th century code, I think, for emotionally devastated. Still, they were married, and the marriage night lasted exactly long enough to produce a daughter, Princess Charlotte. But after that, George fled the marital bed like it was on fire. Caroline, however, did not retreat quietly into the shadows like a proper royal wife. Oh no, she leaned into the chaos. She continued to laugh too loudly, speak too plainly, and she hugged people, which, if you believe the rumours about her personal hygiene, was probably not as endearing as one would think. She also spoke to servants like they were humans, which did not win her much favour with the ruling hoi polloi, but it elevated her to god tier with literally everyone else. She was even rumoured to have a working sex doll from China. But that might be a vicious rumour, or I don't know, British hyperbole. Either way, George had had enough, and he decided to exile her. Caroline spent years travelling around Europe, making friends, collecting pets, having affairs, basically behaving in ways that made the British establishment clutch its pearls. And then, in 1820, George became king, and his estranged, deeply inconvenient wife became Queen of Great Britain. Georgie Porgy panicked, and he tried to divorce her. Didn't work. He tried to stop her from entering the country. Didn't work. Caroline responded by sailing back to England and dramatically declaring, "I am your queen," which is honestly iconic behaviour. So the government resorted to putting her on trial, accusing her of immoral behaviour. Caroline showed up, she fought back, and in doing so, she won massive public support. So crowds gathered, and protesters waved banners, and suddenly this awkward, smelly German woman became a symbol of resistance against a spoiled, unpopular king. She didn't win the trial, but she did win the people. And when George IV was crowned, Caroline attempted to attend, but she was physically blocked from entering Westminster Abbey. Imagine being Queen of England and getting bounced from your own coronation. Brutal. 19 days later, on the 7th of August 1821, Caroline shuffled off this mortal recoil, and her final request was to be buried with the words, "Here lies Caroline of Brunswick, the injured Queen of England." And what a queen she was.